Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, let's make a bistec en salsa, also known as bistec guisado. This is a very flavorful recipe, but that's also pretty simple to make. Everyone has their own version of how they make theirs, and this is how I make mine. So let's get into it. Alright, so before we start making our bistec, I'm just going to quickly show the type of beef that I'm using. This is called cube steak, but you can also use a flank steak or another cut of thin steak. That will work really well too. So here's my bistec. I put it on a plate and I'm simply just gonna chop up some peppers and onions. The amount that you want to use is totally up to you. And the kind of peppers that you're using is up to you. Here I just have some yellow and red bell peppers because this is simply just what I had on hand. But you can feel free to use orange or green bell peppers as well. And then after I chop up my peppers and onions, I'm going to smash one garlic clove. So here I have my bistec on a plate, and I'm just going to start off by drizzling a good amount of extra virgin olive oil on both sides. And then after I drizzle my oil, I'm gonna season my steaks, and this can be done in no particular order. And the first thing I'm gonna do is top my steaks with that smashed garlic. I'm gonna try to just spread it evenly on both sides. And then I'm gonna sprinkle some adobo. Here I have about a pound and a quarter of a pound of bistec. So I'm gonna sprinkle about, I wanna say 3/4 of a teaspoon. If you feel like this is too little, like you didn't put enough adobo on your steaks or multi-purpose seasoning, that's okay, because you can just adjust the salt content in your bistec while it's cooking. Then afterwards, I'm gonna give it a little sprinkle of some black pepper. Here I have about 1/4 of a teaspoon for both sides. And then last but not least, I'm gonna sprinkle about 1/2 teaspoon of some oregano flakes. And then after I season my steaks, I'm gonna top them off with my peppers and onions, and I'm gonna cover them in plastic wrap, and I'm gonna let it marinate in my fridge for at least an hour prior to cooking. Alrighty, so I have my pan here and it's set over medium-high heat, and I'm just going to plop those bistecs right on there. I don't need to add oil in my pan because the bistecs are already covered in oil. And even though I already added peppers and onions, of course I have to add the sofrito because that's what's gonna make the broth in this stew very delicious. And I have about an ounce here. I wanna say it's equivalent to almost 2 tablespoons. And next up, to make that broth nice and rich, I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of tomato sauce. And then about 1 teaspoon of some white vinegar. And 1 packet of Goya Sazón with culantro y achote, but as always, you can use whatever sazon brand you prefer. And if you just don't want to use any kind of sazon, you can also use about half a teaspoon of annatto powder. Then I'm going to add enough water to cover my steak and all of my peppers. I want to say add about at least 2 cups and then go from there. And after I added all of my ingredients, I'm going to add about half a cup of baby carrots. This is completely optional, but it adds a nice little touch. So after I add my carrots, I'm going to cover my pot and I'm going to let it cook for about 1 hour and 20 minutes until my beef steaks are nice and tender. And after about 1.5 hours, my beef is done and is super tender and flavorful, and you can see that the liquid has reduced significantly. This is what it should look like. Peep those tostones in the corner, those are coming out good too. So at this point, you may want to check for your salt and pepper content just to make sure the flavors are all nice and balanced. So that is all for today's video, and my plating skills may not be perfect yet, but I'll tell you what, that plate is really good. So if you've enjoyed today's video, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, because a new video will be out every week. Until next time.